Welcome to Mindful Drawing. I'm Lux is Fun, and I'll be your guide on this meditation on presence through the act of drawing. These exercises open up a space of mindful reflection and creativity as we engage with our body and with the page through this medium of drawing. Pen or pencils work fine, colored pencil, charcoal, anything you like to express yourself with or experiment with for the day is a great medium to try and engage with a bit of mindfulness in creative practice. You may be an artist or just someone interested in giving yourself a little time to develop a new skill or hobby. Either works well, there's no prerequisites here, we just move the pen or pencil around the page and I provide some guidance for visualization, for technique, and for how we bring mindfulness to that practice. As we're more aware of our action, we enter into a space of now and presence, and combined the sketching and doodling with meditation. As we enter into the new year, a time for that reflection on ourself, our presence, and what we intend to do in this next cycle that we've defined in life, a coming out of the winter in a couple of months and into a fresh spring and growth in that busy time of summer. I think it's appropriate to start with a reflection on our body. This vessel that carries us through the world, this vessel that contains the mechanisms for life, this vessel that extends out through our senses to interact with the world around us, is both protective and expansive. It holds the presence of our being, gives the mind the physical matter to focus the energy through. It allows for our creative action, as well as inputs to absorb from the world, to build a map through our senses and knowledge. So let's give it a little bit of time and meditate on vessel. Now, we won't necessarily be drawing from the body during the exercise, but you're welcome to if that's what inspires you. For me, I was repotting some plants yesterday and thought that container and the interaction between the roots, water, and soil on the inside and the moisture of the air kept out, protected, or allowed in lightly was a nice inspiration for something to draw. So I'll be looking at something like a pot for a plant, then bringing into it a meditation on kind of energies and connections of flows through space to the breath, and of finding things to occupy that void, mediating the inside and outside of some containing vessel. After we establish something there on the page, we'll explore a little bit of magnification, of layering in multiplicities of scales of interaction to look deep inward and allow that to reinforce and reflect outward. We're going to go ahead and get started. So get a piece of paper, pen or pencil, anything you like to draw with. Establish your space and let's draw together. Pen, pencil, maybe a little bit of both. You have them handy, but either will work. And take some time in this exercise to do a bit of a kind of meditation on the vessel, both metaphorically on the page as we draw, but look inside of our body and ourself as the vessel for our being. And so maybe for a couple of minutes or a couple seconds at the beginning, just bring into mind something of a vessel that holds. We were repotting some plants yesterday and had to break a few of them apart for plants that were a little overzealous with their roots, and thinking of that vessel that holds the dirt, or some capsule that holds water, anything that may take shape in your mind, and thinking of holding onto a body, giving it shape, giving its action presence. And I'm just going to begin anywhere around on the page to draw the outline of that vessel. And I think I'll kind of go for something of a pot. Just a U shape, something parabolic to hold a little bit into. We can take a couple of times on it to trace over, to mold its shape a little bit, the vessel having an inside presence or shape to that containing condition, as well as an outside shape. They can mirror each other, be quite different. Encouraged to play around with how it encloses and takes physical presence there on the page. Again, my model is coming a little bit from the pot for a plant. Its inner container related to its outer container, but slightly different forms. Just a few times through, tracking over what we've drawn, intensifying the edges or boundaries to this vessel. Even our own internal body vessel operating in a similar way. A shape on the inside, just a little reflection of our shape on the outside, full of objects. And once we have some definition there of an inside and an outside containing presence, we're going to begin by finding a place in an area of centering. Perhaps that's up near the top or down into the center of the void, depending on the shape you're defining. And just bring into that a circle-ish shape, floating, contained, but balanced in the center. You can use a few of these circle shapes to enter into our space here in the breath and the position of the body. So take deep breath in and let it float out. And then on the next in-breath, moving up or down, left or right from that center, defining a new location and forming a new similar circle shape. Drawing with the out-breath, maybe giving it a few cycles of breathing, beginning to connect our attention and awareness to the pacing of the hand and the pacing of the breath. And when you feel ready, an emptying breath with no action, breathing in and letting it out. And then on the next in-breath, again, moving up or down, left or right, finding a new location and using the rhythm of the breath to guide a new presence, a new circle. It may be leaving the containment of the vessel or going further in. My open vessel here can go deeper down towards the bottom from that upper center. Taking another breath in, finding location, and gently letting it out over the course of a few oscillations. And as that one winds down with the breath, taking a centering breath with no action, letting it out and observing the drawing, considering further motion left or right, up or down, continuing trajectory or starting anew, cycling through that breath in for presence, out for motion. A subtle difference between the two as you keep the pen or pencil moving on the page. And before moving on to the next one, you can always take an emptying breath, a chance to reset and realign with the presence on the page, or move right into the next location, the in-breath to find presence, and the out to let it empty through the motion into the page. Mine are forming somewhat Cartesianly, up, down, left, right. You can move in any direction. The vessel's containment, soft, just as a beginning as we relax into that space of breathing and grow our awareness into the presence, the motion of our hand, and interaction with the page. I'll do one or two more. And then begin to look at lightly reaching connection between the developing nodes, expanding out from these centers, these locating points, to connect and to fill some of the void of the vessel. And take a breath in to center, then let it out gradually. And then find a way of engaging to extend the shapes, choosing any one to start, cycling back through top to bottom, bottom to top. And I'm just going to begin by extending some lines or curves, little feelers out, not quite reaching to the next shape, but beginning to test the space out into the void of the vessel. Think of these as little cilia, little nerve endings reaching into that void to map it, to find connection and awareness of the space around us. And with each new extension from, you can take a breath in and listen to the sounds of the space around you. Perhaps there's some wind or light rain outside. Perhaps some morning traffic. Or just the creak of floorboards or the chair beneath your seat. And use this light, feathering, extending, as a medium for centering in and taking some of the attention, focusing it in from its jumping, chaotic energy to a more guided, mindful presence in the appearance on the drawing. The nodes may begin to cross, to reach out beyond each other, to reach into or over each other. And we can begin to take our practice of awareness from this repetition of technique. And now listen inward. Listen to the sound of the breath moving in over your nostrils or out past your lips, whichever way you find ease in breathing. Letting the hand start to take its own action from your initial presence and guidance. So you listen in perhaps to the little pops and rubs of the joints in the fingers. The kind of sound that we feel through the bones. With a scrape or scratch of the pen or pencil on the paper. Finding any other subtle sounds filling some of that space around us and within us. The vessel of the body, giving us presence in the physical matter realm, tuned both to our internal pressure, buoyancy, carrying our ocean with us, into the external influences mapped by our senses. Holding space for our organs to interact. Holding the space and pressure for our blood to flow, bring oxygen to the systems that support our presence. Holding the shape of our hands, feet, arms, legs, back, torso, so that we can move and interact. Holding the connection of space between joints that structure our motion. And let us move this pen or pencil. The space fills on the page. You can always cycle back through some things as we observe what is holding and what is held. The page containing the drawing containing layers. And I thought we might take some time to play and begin to move through different levels of intensity or observation within that vessel. Kind of like taking a magnifying glass to look deeper inside of any moment therein. So I'm just going to begin, maybe with the eyes closed even, to let my hand wander around the page, Take a breath in for presence. And as I open my eyes on the out breath, in the rough location of my hand, I'm just going to draw a small circle that cuts across some of the elements of the vessel here, giving it a few loops to establish a strong rim or perimeter of a cutting over. And then I'm going to take that out into the space of the page. If you have a lot of space, feel free to move far. If it's narrow, just a little bit. And extend it to a larger cone around the circle. In some way, taking that and zooming ourselves out so that we can begin to magnify that moment. And with a lot of stability and attention and presence to the action of the hand, I'm going to draw a larger circle, just brushing along the tangents there. It can be a little wobbly, as those larger motions can be harder to track. I'm going to give it a bit of a rim, creating a new vessel for looking in. The frame, perhaps, of a magnifying glass or a screen, establishing the page separate from the container. And attempt to grow what is seen here, whatever you find within that first circle. A few curves cut off from their context, a few lines just jutting into space. Try to remap them larger but similar into the new circle. First, just establishing some of the lines, the trajectories for finding. And then we can use this in the next 5 minutes or so as a place for exploration. What does it look like inside the edges of those walls? Is the surface smooth and slick, or perhaps rough? Can begin to articulate it with more space to explore. The zooming in. Does it have layers? A hard outer shell to protect it, perhaps filled with ink or pencil. A porous inner portion like the ceramic of a vase. Or it can be bubbly, playful, made of layers of earth, or soil, skin or cells, anything beginning to form there. As the inside and the outside take on different characteristics, the one holding in, the one holding out. And for anything of those arbitrary captured lines that cross the space, as they get bigger, what might they become? Sharp curves, tendrils, roots or branches. Whatever you find in your space and presence, spend 5 minutes or so just exploring it, having some time to contemplate the composition and presence of your vessel. You find there, you may be able to bring some of it lightly back into the space of the whole. And if you have a little more time to play in the space of the drawing, taking portions, zooming in to find and discover, and zooming back out to the whole to explore their relationship further along. The multiplicity of ways and scales of looking at things, observing both inward and outward, from the very small, the very nuanced and subtle, to the more overt and expressive. The motion and grip of the hand, from the tiny interactions of sensors on the tips of the fingers and the hairs on the back, to the overall swoop and motion of the arm, all working together at the same time, all part of the support of this vessel that we occupy from our mind, presence out physically in the world. Traveling through all of these layers of action, of experience, an opportunity to be present and observe the endlessness and find something unknown. As we're coming towards the end of the time of the exercise, it's good to bring a little closure to the practice. Maybe check in, keep drawing if you feel like it, or take a moment to place everything down, reestablish your posture, check in to make sure nothing is folded in too tight or compressed too far, and the mind's attention being focused on the page. Take a few deep breaths to re-engage everything from the shoulders to the hips, the whole torso expanding forward and back, left and right, up and down. Letting that centering expansion work out and stretch the necks, stretch the seat bones, maybe move the legs a little bit, move the arms a little bit. Just checking in and making sure everything's still there and present, and then taking a nice final breath in a relaxed pace, and out with a little bit of gratitude as we enter into this new year and new season of being. What can we do with our vessel? I hope you enjoyed the exercise and maybe even were inspired to continue your creativity, zooming in and zooming out, finding details in the space between and nuance and subtlety through your senses, and then bringing that back to the whole, building out a rich and complicated picture something unique, creative, and you. And can you bring that meditation to yourself, to the vessel that contains your presence, and shape it as you interact with the world? If you've enjoyed this exercise, please share it with your friends. Give me a comment below and let me know what you came up with and how it went for you. And feel free to look back through the archive. There's many techniques and practices along the way, each one a unique moment of finding presence and space. Great to start the day with a flow of creativity, or in the evening, winding down for rest, allowing the mind to release its tension into that space of the page. And I hope you can join along next week. I post videos pretty much every Wednesday morning on YouTube if you don't catch them live. Tuesday mornings at 9 a.m. through Pratt's Mindful Drop-In. Or you can find me on Twitch at Rooksisfun, where I'll live stream them if you want to catch them there. I hope your year is off to a great start. Whatever you're doing for the rest of the day, draw well. Thank you.